That room you're in is very well lit by the sun. Is it not?
It's actually a little bit dark in here, but
Really?
yeah, it's got a lot of windows, but it's not a sunny day. It's kind of cloudy and foggy.
It's perfect. Clouds become a diffuser then for light.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, all right,
I
that was
like
a
to
great.
diffuse things.
Not the situation though. So I thought again when I read this article, I was in the midst of learning a bunch of fucking songs for cover. That's how I feel about it. And I was like, this very. If I could pronounce the word poignant. Can you pronounce that word? You
Poignant.
had a lot of
Yeah.
good points in it. It's not even a joke I wrote.
Yeah.
Uh,
No. No.
so reading a little bit of this right now, I'm not going to because I know I can't read at a high level. Um, I think the things that you
Any
point
level.
out, well, yeah, any level that's too high for me, like second grade, third grade. What I thought right away that made me chuckle when I read this was when you're talking about how plenty of people judge musicians or bands for doing covers while at the same time clicking on that new YouTube video of a band playing a cover of a popular song, but then they never click on your song.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like think of all the people that have gone. I was just like, this is what I felt like because you were so right. Like you could spend hours and hours meticulously learning a cover, perform it, and you might get a million views, but then nobody gives a shit about your original stuff.
No, no, and you kind of put your by doing covers like that. There's lots of people, talented musicians out there who do these fantastic covers, and they put them on YouTube, whatever. But their goal is to release their original content. But once you put
Yeah.
yourself in that niche, you're a person who does covers now. No one wants to hear your original stuff. Like they didn't want to hear it to begin with, but they certainly don't want to hear it now that you're this cover person,
Yeah. I have a
cover
theory.
girl.
I have a theory. Well, thank you. I have a theory about this, and you two, I love you too. But they have this song, and he goes, "The sweetest melody is the one we've never heard," and I think that's the biggest bunch of bullshit on the face of the planet. The sweetest melody is
Oh,
one that's
totally.
really, really close to a melody we've heard 1,000 times, so we're familiar with it.
Yeah, or simply the melody we have heard 1,000 times. Because the more you hear it, and this is, like provable, measurable stuff, the more you hear something, the more you like it.
Yeah.
The more familiar you are with something, the more you like it.
Well, do you think I mean, it obviously probably triggers like memories in our brain about the time that we heard this song or that time we were on the road.
Mm.
Yeah,
Well,
stupid.
there's also just the fact that familiarity breeds contempt. No.
Well, that's why we stay away from each
In
other
my
2,000
case.
miles.
In my case. No, but when you know something, when you've heard it or seen it a number of times, then it becomes the right way, which is essentially what demoitis is, right? When you're creating
Yeah.
your own new song, and you hear the demo version of it too many times, and you have a hard time ever changing it into the final pro sounding version because that's how it's supposed to be now. That incomplete version that I just whipped together as a proof of concept idea is now
Yeah, yeah.
how it's supposed to sound. I can't change it because it's perfect, but no, it's not perfect. It's just
Yeah.
you're used to
Well, and
it.
that's why I've been so bad for so long musically that all my demos would be so terrible that if I do just a little bit better than that, I'm gonna be like, God, that's pretty fucking good. My new joke lately is why are you laughing when I'm being serious? How do you
Yeah, yeah.
think? How do you think? And this is a question that we need to solve for our own band. How do you think you get people to pay attention to your own music? And I'm going to ask this in a two-parter because the bands that I love, like the Beatles, were in Hamburg, Germany, earning their craft by doing covers and then sneaking in their originals. But nobody gave a shit when they did their originals, and everyone was drunk.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yep. Well, there's like the story from Aaron Lewis with the band Stained. He was doing like cover band or cover gigs every night of the week. Doing like 4 hour sets and whatnot every night to earn his keep, and he'd throw in a couple of his original tunes throughout the night, and that would be the moment when people would stop listening.
Yeah.
And the one
Which
and
is
the
a
one
really
good
good
story.
feeling.
Yeah, it's a great feeling. It's like, oh, I put my heart and soul into this, and nobody cares. But the part of the story that entertains me the most is he would do that. I can't remember what song it was, but it was the first one that blew up really big for him. And he was like 2 weeks before he was playing that song regularly in bars all over during his gigs. and no one was listening, and then the song blew up, and everyone wanted to hear it.
Yeah. And then walk that through 20 more years. Is he sick of it now?
Probably. I mean,
Because
be forced to play the same song day in day out for years on end, you're probably going to get a little sick of it.
and then as a cover band, your job is to emulate the top one song that an artist ever played.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like, because nobody
And
gives
play
a
that
fuck if
one
you're
over
playing
and
the
over
B side.
and over.
Yeah. 4 hours a night and blah blah blah. I think the other thing that I really liked, and it reminded me of a Tom Waits quote, but how you talk about how it's difficult to learn somebody else's. I don't know if it's in this paragraph or the other one, but like the nuances of how somebody played something. Nobody plays everything perfectly in time. There's no perfectly in time.
Right.
There's a slight on me there, I'm sure, coming eventually. But the amount of time that it takes you to get your own signature sound and then to copy somebody else's, it's just a huge amount of fucking work.
It really is.
The Tom Waits quote goes something like he was on some frickin' night show and he goes, Tom Waits has no voice. I tell the trumpet player to play that part as if a bee is in his bottom, like stinging him. But that's his instruction.
Yeah.
Like, what are you supposed to, like, okay, I guess I'll pretend, and I kind of respect that, like, that's the idea you're going for, but to get your head inside 40 different artists and learn all their songs is just a big task. I don't think people understand how big of a task it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and you, at best, like I said in the article, at best you're playing an approximation of a great performance. You're never going to nail it completely, because I mean, for the most part, it's the accidental nuance that the artist didn't even intend to introduce. They're just whatever that take was, whatever that feeling was that they injected into it. They are never going to play it the same way again. You know, they're always. I mean,
we go see a band live. Yeah. Well, and like I've seen some videos where they go listen to the tape and they're like, "Oh yeah, I did that. That was really cool." Like they don't even know. And then you take bands again like U2. The Edge is playing like 4 different guitar parts on the album, or on one song, and he has to play that as one. So when they play live, he's playing a completely different kind of sound. Now, one other thing in your article, and I'll say one other thing a couple times, but very few guitar solos are iconic. And so why are some? And what's your insight on why some are? Because I think you have, as a musician, a knack to create iconic riffs and iconic solos. So, answer.
I think it's the same thing. Personally, I think it's the same thing that makes a vocal melody stand out as something iconic. There's an idea that you can grab onto, you can hear, and you can grab onto, and that strikes you. I mean, why is a vocal melody interesting, and why are some just plain boring, right? Like, what is it that does that? And I think it's this. The answer to that is the same answer to what makes a guitar solo so iconic. It's the guitar singing this melody in this way, and it's the emotion that comes through too, right? I mean, because you can take an iconic guitar solo and play it with complete lack of emotion, completely dead, and it's going to be an uninteresting guitar solo.
Yeah. Well, and then where I'm at as a musician, and especially my lead playing, which is shit, to play an iconic solo well takes not only a ton of time, but I mean like if I'm even at that technical aspect, which I'm not, I'm usually 2 steps behind. So I mean, like I could see you being very like rigid with the playing if you didn't know the part well enough. I wish I'd be rigid enough. I just can't even get to the part. I'm like, could you guys slow the solo down just a little bit? That'd make it a little bit easier for me.
If we just talk about as a quick aside, I guess the guitar solo I did in the middle of the original song "Lonely Lover" that we're working on currently. In how it's in 2 parts. There's the electric guitar that starts, and then it goes into a nylon string guitar.
Yeah.
Well, listening back to it now that I've got both parts recorded, I'm like, okay, the electric guitar part is cool, but it's less interesting and captivating than the nylon guitar part.
Really?
And why is that? Right? And so, as far as I can tell, in the electric guitar part, I'm not following the chord changes. I'm riffing in the key of the song, That's what I'm doing. But I'm not like playing off the chord changes. I'm not outlining that we're going from a D minor to a B flat to an F to an A7. Whereas the nylon string part, I am outlining those chord changes. There's still a melody and there's ideas, but you can just listen to the guitar solo with no other music and figure out the harmonic shifts happening.
Yeah. You're leading it, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I listened to that last take of yours, I mean, the one you sent me probably a week ago, I liked them both.
Yeah, no, I do too. I think they're both cool, but there is something that seems just a little bit less interesting in the part that is just riffing in the key.
Yeah. Gotcha. I think you're wrong. No, I'm kidding. I mean,
So
it's your solo.
I think that plays a part. Yeah.
It does. And I think the greats, and it kind of gets into your next part too, but I think the greats studied. Is that vodka? I think the greats studied. I mean, it goes back to the Beatles in Hamburg, playing 6 hours or 4 hours a night, 6 days a week, or whatever the fuck they did for months on end.
Yep.
They learned all these
Yep.
solos. They became all a part of their brain, and then they outputted them into their own songs. So not only they're good players, but they were good writers too. And I liked you did a really good job with your headlines in this article. Reading isn't writing, I think, is a great way to put it, though. Which is kind of our pushback on each other of what we're currently doing in this job, though, too. It's like there's steps to take to get better at all this stuff. And one of those steps is doing it. The other one's doing it consistently. But it's taking small chunks, though, too. It's not both of us doing everything all the time.
Yeah.
It's, hey, what are Nic's strengths? Okay. And then where does he have to grow to? Okay. Don't make that dirty. And what are my strengths? And we looked for a long time. We couldn't find any.
None at all.
I like
Your
how I'm
strength
always
is you came up with an idea.
one. I love how I say you're the asshole, but really I beat you to the punch most of the time.
You preempt me because you know what I'm going to say anyway at this point. So
That's
you can just kind of fill in for me.
Relationships. Hey, by the way, I did like this part of the article where you go, I have a friend who is terrified of sounding like the singers he likes best and so is afraid to emulate them for practice. Now, for two reasons, I knew that wasn't me. One is you said friend. Clearly not. And then two, you said singer.
That immediately excludes you. Oh, singer.
Those two things.
No.
Yeah.
I wouldn't insult singers out there.
No.
Categorizing
That
you
would
with
be
them.
rude. Mm-hmm. I feel like you're wrong, though, to say your truth is you never will sound like those singers. I think that's a misnomer.
No, you can approximate their sound just like you can approximate a guitar solo, but you're never going to sound just like them. You're never going to have that. You're never going to have that physical ability to sound just like someone else. You can sound close to. You can sound even convincingly, maybe, but no,
well, even
the
the artist doesn't even sound like them 7 years down the road.
Right.
You know, as
the voice is
voice
always
matured.
changing.
Yeah. Well, and you think about the guitar wood. The guitar wood's aging, right? The guitar's not going to sound the same as it did 5 years ago. I do love the don't plagiarize. I will not endorse it. Well, plagiarize a little because everyone steals, and you should.
Yeah.
Because
it's
we're out of
to.
music. We're out of chords.
It's not even that, really. It's like what you're talking about with the Beatles, how they were just copying everyone's stuff and learning from it and internalizing it, and they just took everything they learned from all of that experience and made it their own. So they didn't just come out of the ether, come out of nowhere. You know, they learned, and that's what we do as humans. We have to learn from a source, and then we take what we learned and apply it in our own way, with our own voice, our own expression.
With our own, we're seeing it through our own lens. Then I think is a great way to say it.
Yeah.
Let me Google ether a minute. I'll get back to you. Your last part of your article, I don't agree with. You have a just play music. Yeah, that's what I read that as. That's more excitement than I've ever seen from you in your entire life.
Well, but it also goes back to how I do feel about playing music. Like even if it's a song I don't like, I can enjoy playing the part.
Yeah,
I can enjoy playing the song. I'm not like listening to the song. And chances are, if I don't like listening to the song, I'll enjoy playing the song much more than I'll ever enjoy listening to it. But
Well,
it's
yeah, because it's here to there. Like this one comes up a little bit, but that really doesn't change much.
yeah, but it's just that is it is pretty authentic to how I feel about it. I think that there is, with the right perspective, you can enjoy playing pretty much any song.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Um, it is fun to play. It can be more fun to play in a group.
Oh, for sure.
If you have talented, I mean, playing alone does get old after a while, but also it's like you have complete control. You know what you're bringing to the table or what you're not bringing to the table. With other musicians, you're like, all right, I have to have some trust that you're going to do what you need to do when you're going to do it.
Well, there's the point of contrast too. It's like if you spend all day every day at home, you're gonna hate your house and you're gonna hate yourself. But if you go out for a few hours every day, you come back and you're like, oh, great, I'm home. So to me, it's kind of the same thing. Is if you always just play by yourself, playing alone, you can get kind of lost and you're kind of sick of it. Like, what am I even doing this for?
Now, that is the second time today I feel personally attacked by you. So just letting you know. Just letting you know. Tell me a little bit. Tell me a little bit about your struggle. Not even struggle, because you're a very talented musician, but you had to pull up all these resources basically by yourself.
And how do you mean that? What resources?
Well, like there were no sheets online that you pulled from. You listened to the song and wrote everything out.
For the cover songs,
yeah. So on average, what do you think per song? Give a rough estimate of like an hour that you put in. Is it 1 hour, 2 hours per just writing it out?
Just writing it out was, I'd put it at probably about an hour per song. Because it's you listen to it a couple times just to get the form, and then once the form's kind of set, and you got to decide how you want the form to be. And a big part of what took me time was I wasn't just running straight through the song. It's this many measures for this part, this many for this part. It was, well, how do I get this all to fit on one page? So how can I say play this and then go back to this point, play this, and then it has a different way it ends here, but then it goes this, and just to kind of organize that in a way that I could then make sense of in a pretty quick, just like glancing at the sheet, because I didn't want to have to scroll. I wanted one page, see my one page, and be able to play the whole song. So that took some kind of strategic thinking.
Cool. What was the song that surprised you that you liked when you were done playing, that when you started playing it, you didn't like it at all?
Let me pull up the list. I have one in mind already, but let me just look at the list of songs here quick. Quick being relative. Who knows if I'll even find.
None of our relatives are watching right now. None of my relatives. We're not related, so.
I hope not.
In the biblical sense, I think we're all related, but that's a different story.
The biblical sense.
It's a thing that people are saying that now lately. A lot of people I know. Maybe not you don't, but that's
totally cool. Very common. Very common to talk biblical sense. All right.
I had to fill the dead air.
Well, let me actually switch that around and then I'll answer it. So the one I thought I would like that I ended up not liking was "Let's Go Crazy" by Prince.
Why?
I thought it sounded kind of groovy, and then I started. Well,
you liked it because it was
fun.
groovy.
It sounded upbeat and groovy, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." But then, well, why don't I like it? That's actually a good question. It seems kind of obnoxious to me.
Yeah. Oh, great. Great. Hey, Nick, we have no audience already, and you just pissed off every Prince fan.
Well, okay, so yeah, I'm not a big fan of Prince. Fair. But the guitar part is it's not very interesting.
Yeah.
But
are there other elements of the song that are interesting? That take the cake? That the guitar needs to be more laid back?
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. It's kind of like a funky guitar part played on a distortion guitar, because that's Prince. That's kind of how he did. But I don't know. The whole song just overall was underwhelming for me. Well, it didn't captivate me, and I don't know. It's just a personal taste thing.
Yeah.
But to answer your question,
which is the important thing, yes, I agree.
Which is the important thing, yeah. All right. it's going to be my best friend's girl.
Wait, you ended up liking that?
I ended up liking that, yeah.
But
Which
again,
is kind of funny.
is it because it's fun to play, or
It's it's because after learning the solo, I immediately had respect for the guitar player.
gotcha?
It's the solo is clever. It's smart. It's advanced, um, and it just demonstrates that the guitarist really understood his instrument and understood music.
Yeah. So it garnered respect, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
very much so.
Very cool. Yeah. So we played the gig Saturday night, and I've not played a gig in probably a year. Thank God.
Hmm.
Especially a full band gig. And my do you remember when people were like, never own a pickup truck because everyone will ask you to move stuff for them every weekend, right? Like, hey, I'm moving this week. Could you grab your pickup truck and come
Yeah,
help? I feel the
yeah,
same
yeah.
way about owning a speaker system. You never
Mm.
want to be the person in the band that has a speaker system
Like you
because
have a
oh, you got a
PA?
PA?
Could
Yeah.
you bring
Yeah.
it?
Could you? And then here's the thing: if you're the one with a PA, you're the one who knows how to set it all up, right? So do you think that you're going to be able to say, "Hey, 3 other people that are in this band, here's how to set this up"? Well, by the time I do that, I'm set up.
Right.
So I'm going to sell all
Well,
my
it's
PA
a
equipment.
trade off, right? Like, are you gonna spend the time to teach them or not?
Yeah, when you say it
Let
that
me
way,
go
it
grab my
sounds
computer charger.
okay. I will tell a couple jokes while Nick is gone. My first joke.
It's a good joke. These are the best jokes I've ever heard.
I figured like that would be funnier. Is just silence. Well, the other joke is like, well, I feel like I'm pretty much wrapped up. I don't know. I feel like we covered a lot of the bases. I didn't even know that's how you spell virtuoso. Virtuoso. I was gonna be like, I'm trying to go for that Charlie Day character. Like he kind of acts dumb every once in a while, but you're not sure.
Live
if it's
your
an
own
act.
truth. Live your own
Yeah.
truth. I get it.
Oh, it's the second time this week I've heard that. So when's your guys' next gig?
November. It
Oh,
turns out to be a very casual cover band.
all right, all right.
It's the first thing I got involved with, and
Yeah.
you got to start baby steps and all that.
Well, and the nice thing now, and that's how I feel too. It's like now I have 40 songs that I feel pretty comfortable with. I have 12 songs that I feel pretty comfortable with.
Hmm.
But then, I mean, again, it's not like a cover band's doing. If you Google top 100 cover band songs, the lists aren't that different. So chances
Right.
are you could jump into another cover band really easily and get the material.
And for me, the kind of what I mentioned in the article still applies. I got to learn a lot of different things and ideas and approaches, and by playing them more, keeping them in my active repertoire and keeping them fresh, and learning them even more deeply, it's just going to cement those ideas and then
Yeah.
allow me to use them. And when you do a cover band, even if it's this like this one style cover band where you're not doing metal songs, for example.
Yeah.
So you got your pocket you're in. There's still a wide variety of tunes there, because you're playing all these different bands, and every band has its own kind of style. But you're playing multiple bands, so you're playing multiple styles, which I feel is good to kind of push your skills.
Yeah. No, agreed. For me, it was pushing me to bleed, though. But it's skill set difference, right? Like for me,
Yeah.
like I put one night I put an hour and 40 minutes in just one solo,
Mm-hmm.
and then and my list got so big of songs I needed to learn that like the day before I go, oh shit, that song. But that happened like 5 times where I'm like, oh shit, that song. Because there's always just another song down the corner, and then a little bit of formatting work that had to get done on it, and just the playing is fun. I do not care for the administrative aspect at all.
Sure.
And
I get
that's
that.
not a commercial for our website by any means, but it is. Like, I want to show up and
But
play.
it plays in, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And I
kind of
told
the
that to the
point
other
of the
guys in the
website is to,
band. Yeah,
yeah,
why like, I don't enjoy doing this work at all, so I would rather just show up in the band and play, because that's what everyone enjoys, right? And right now we have a
yeah,
drummer that doesn't need music at all, so it's just like the other two guys. It's like, this would be more enjoyable for me as well if I could just show up and play, not have to think,
yeah.
read my tab beforehand, learn my music like everyone else. But no, I have to do administrative work, then learn my music, and it's a skill set that I don't have, playing guitar.
Yeah, you kind of put yourself in that bed.
I did not. I asked not to sleep in that bed at all. I said I do not want to be in that bed. And where did I end up? I ended up in that bed, which is why I'm going to therapy.
All the
On
bed
that
bugs.
note, I think we covered your article well. I think it was a really well written article, and yeah, sound good.
Sounds good to me.
Sweet. You have a good rest of your day.
That's it.
Peace.